Hi, and welcome to the Sovereign Leader podcast. I'm your host, Jen Thomas, and I'm here with my co host, Joy Schultz. And this is our brand new podcast, the podcast for high achieving spiritual women who are done performing, done shrinking, and ready to lead from their own center with anchored, embodied authority. Together, Joy and I, through raw but grounded conversation, intend to share what it truly means to lead yourself from sovereignty, especially when you've spent decades maybe, managing everyone else's energy in order to feel safe. So, for our first episode, it only makes sense that we share our own personal stories and what we love most about leading from sovereignty. So, Joy, I'm going to hand over to you first. Joy, tell us your story and how you got here.
Hi, hello. So I am Joy. I am from Middle America in Oklahoma in the United States. And I grew up in what we call the Bible Belt. I grew up in a religious cult, fundamental Christianity. Um, we have a documentary about the beliefs that I grew up in. It's called Shiny Happy People on Amazon Prime. So when I say cult, I don't say that lightly. And um, so I grew up in that until I was 28. I was just trying to survive. I also had a lot of abuse and toxic relationships, and I was taught that that was the only way. And so then at 28, my life had completely fallen apart. I was going through a divorce, and I was literally a shell of a person because I had been taught my entire life that a woman's entire purpose for being here was to be the helpmeet of her husband and basically the servant, doing everything for him so that he can go out and serve his mission to the world. And so then here I was having, quote, failed at my one mission as a woman and not able to make my own decisions. I was literally a shell of a person. And so then I spent several years in this void, almost atheist, because I just couldn't handle the thought of any type of spirituality. And then life circumstances happened, and I was going through a massive career shift, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do, but it gave me the time to start thinking about spirituality again. And so then I started tiptoeing my way into spirituality, and a few years later, I meet Jen Thomas and my wonderful host here. And she started helping me walk this path. And at first, it was just learning how to meditate and to just be in my body a little bit more. And I felt like I was in spiritual kindergarten. I didn't know what was up from down. I didn't know who I was. I was just starting to learn how to meditate, how to work with these guides that kept coming in and these animals that kept coming in. And I was like, what is all of this? And through her expert guidance and holding space, I began this journey. And I started to get really curious when I'd hear things about mystery schools. I was like, ooh, what is that? And I started trying on these labels of witch and mystic, and just none of them fit. And then Jen started talking about Goddess Isis and the path of the priestess. And I started seeing pictures of Goddess Isis's temple in Egypt, and I started having past life remembrances. And then Jen started talking about her priestess training, and just something in me knew that this was the next step for me. I was what I considered spiritual high school. I was like, okay, I've got my path. I know where I'm at, but something still just feels untethered. Something still just doesn't feel quite right. And stepping into priestess training and learning about Goddess Isis, learning to have that relationship with her and all of these guides helped me to begin to feel tethered. I had a path that I could walk. I had guides that I could form and connect deeply with, and they are with me now all the time. And I began to learn that service is not servanthood like I had been taught. That it's actually about service from the overflow, from our gifts, from who we are, not out of obligation, and that it's a path of devotion, not discipline, like I had been taught. And so that's kind of my, in a nutshell, story of how I came to be a priestess of Goddess Isis and walking this path of the priestess. And I cannot thank Jen enough for answering her call, which she'll just now tell you about. So what has your path looked like, Jen?
Oh, thank you. Wow. Wow. Um, yeah, and let me just say, watching and witnessing your path just beautifully and magically unfold has been, yeah, a genuine and great privilege. And I know it's only just beginning,
Yes.
even though I think we've been walking this path together maybe a couple of years now.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So, um, so my batshit bonkers story. And we were just saying actually before we hit record, 10 years ago, this week, 10 years ago was when I signed my settlement agreement to leave my corporate career of 20 years and to retrain and start over again and rebuild my life. So I had grown up in a very masculine environment. I've grown up, as we all have, in a patriarchal society, and my career was amazing. I worked with amazing people and learnt a lot, but it was also a very masculine culture, a very patriarchal system, which I learned to not just survive in, but thrive in. I had a very successful career. But ultimately, my soul had a different path, knew a different path. And in 2015, so just over 10 years ago, I burnt out. And I left that corporate career behind me, not really knowing where I was going, what I was doing. But I knew in every fiber of my being, I knew my corporate career was over. And so I followed my senses, my intuition finally switched back on. So when I was 14 years old, I had my first very powerful spiritual experience. And it wasn't all angels singing and I just felt this amazing level of love. It was nothing like that at all. I absolutely shit myself as Archangel Michael arrived in my bedroom, 14 years old. And through, his masculine, very powerful voice, spoke my name and woke me up. And from then on, I was experiencing premonitions and psychic experiences. But like a lot of people on this path, I suppressed it. I completely switched it off and I conformed and got on with life until 2015. And so what I realized was that my soul self was switching on and saying to me, you've learned all you've needed to learn. Now it is time to take ownership and alchemize. And so I leaned then very heavily, beautifully into the feminine path and to rebalance myself, rebalance my energies, rebalance my thoughts, my emotions, and trusting in myself and my intuition again. And then this escalated pretty quickly. So in 20, I'm a bit forgetful of dates now, but I think 2019, I was in a meditation. I was meditating daily by this point. I was in a meditation and I had a very strong vision of me sitting on a cliff edge. Yet I was in the plains of South Africa. And my late father was South African, so this didn't feel that much of a stretch for me. Uh, and my father's been in spirit 21 years now. And so I was expecting the warmth and the sensation that I felt on my hand in that meditation. I was expecting to look down in that meditation and see my dad's hand there. I had written on his funeral card with the flowers saying, "I know you will always be holding my hand." So that's what I was expecting. But when I looked down, I saw a lion's paw on my hand. And from that moment on, I had no choice but to follow the golden path, if you like. Because 6 months later, 6 whole months later, I met with an amazing woman, Winter Westthorn, who is an interspecies communication trainer. As I had realized and learned that I was communicating with animals and nature. And so I started training with her. And at the beginning of this training, she introduced me to the sacred white lions. And there was the lion that I had seen in my meditation. Whew, what a heart opening, what an awakening. And so, walking this path, I connected with Goddess Isis and was embodying and learning not just ancient Egyptian philosophies and energy, healing energies, but the path of the priestess. And so for 3 years, I trained with Goddess Isis. And I didn't know I was training with her, by the way, at the time. But she was teaching me past life journeying, soul retrieval, and she was teaching me self-leadership. Now, I have always considered myself to be a confident, strong, determined, ambitious woman. But I am also highly sensitive, highly intuitive, and introverted. It's quite the combination. And like many women that I know, and many other people, not just women I know, I suffered deeply with imposter syndrome. And it wasn't until later on, a couple of years ago, that I went through a huge life change where the home that I'd called home for 8 years was being put up for sale. And I was also going through a health journey. At the time, I thought, thankfully didn't, but I thought I had bowel cancer, and I didn't. I was given the all clear for that. And so I decided to lead my own life. I recognized that I'd been responding when my landlord phoned and said he was putting the house up for sale. I recognized I'd been responding to life, responding to situations. And so I took ownership and I took leadership, and I decided to become a pet sitter, a cat sitter, and travel around the country. And I remember saying to Goddess Isis, is this the right thing for me to do? Is this the best thing for me to do? And thankfully, I was challenged by her and my soul team. And the challenge was, you decide, you choose. It's time you lead your own life. So as I sit here now, I'm currently in Surrey in the south of England, and I'm looking after a beautiful cat. And that is how I lead this path of the priestess. It is trusting in not just what I feel and what I sense, but it is knowing that I get to choose, I get to decide. So 48 hours before I left this home of 8 years, when I was diagnosed with a different type of cancer, I lent into my by then mantra, thank you, thank you. I know this is happening for me. So, what is the opportunity for me here? What is the opportunity for me here? And that's how I ended up being a traveling cat sitter. So, this is why I now call it walking the path of the priestess and walking this sovereign leadership, self leadership, which is what I love the most about it. And so, Joy, I want to hand over to you. What do you love? What do you love the most about walking this sovereign leadership path, the path of the priestess?
There's so many things that I love. And like you spoke to, it's that leading of yourself. And that is, and can be a very foreign concept for most of us, until you get to the point of embodying it, because it's not something we're taught. It's not something that is modeled. And so the first time I came across the word sovereign, I was like, what does that even mean? The only people that get to be sovereign are the royalty in the UK, right? Or men, right? And I was like, what does that even mean? And it's truly that return to yourself. It's that you get to choose, you get to decide, and that it gets to be your path, not someone else's path. It's truly taking that power back so that you can hear yourself, so that you can lead yourself. It's that no pressure to perform because you're sovereign. You are who you are and how you're leading your life. So performance doesn't even need to enter the stage. It's, and again, it's that honoring of our path. Everything comes back to us. And it also feels so clean energetically. Like I don't have to hold other people, whether I'm holding space or whether I'm channeling Reiki, it doesn't matter. I don't have to be the one to do that. I'm not the one that's responsible for them. Each of us gets to be responsible for our own selves. And so whether it's talking about my sovereignty and choosing my path and my power, or whether I'm working with others and helping them and guiding them to be able to do that for themselves. So it's all about us. It's not about the tribe. And I think that's where we're headed as a society is it's not about tribe first, it's about us first.
Yeah, oh, beautifully put. Yeah, and I think this is also, yeah, a very similar experience for me, unsurprisingly, because this narrative that particularly women have learned to hold and repeat even is that we are here for others. And that's true. That absolutely is true. You know, we both work in service of others. But what I learned, I think, on this path is that it's okay, not just okay, it's vital that I choose me first.
Yes.
Because without that, I can't serve anyone. And of course, then I was realizing, oh, right, yeah, because in corporate, this is how I was taught to lead. This is how I learned to lead others. But at no point had I ever been taught to lead myself.
Yes.
And so deeply, deeply in this work, what I've recognized is, well, until I can lead myself, be the master of my own emotions, be the master of myself, I can't lead anything or anybody else. So everything but everything but everything starts with me. And that suddenly felt kind of scary, actually. Um, because here's the other revelation, I guess, I've had is that we have been taught, particularly as women, and particularly our generation, and the biggest lie we were ever told is that being independent meant doing it alone. And so I really struggled with the concept of choosing me first because everything in my psyche, everything in my being was saying, no, but I shouldn't be doing it. I should be doing this alone. I have to be independent and I have to lead the way. I have to be the leader. And then I realized, of course not. Of course, that's not the truth. The truth is that, yes, I lead myself and only I choose and only I decide. But I am not walking this path alone, nor should I. Nor should I even try to walk it alone. My God, that's so hard. And oh, is that why I burnt out twice? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I felt there's this sovereign leadership has given me the permission and approval I didn't even know I needed or didn't know I was seeking.
Yes. I mean, I was literally taught to seek approval outside of myself because I couldn't trust myself especially as a woman. I couldn't trust my body. I couldn't trust my emotions. So I needed to look outside of myself. And so, yes, as you said, choosing myself was incredibly scary, especially in the moments where the rubber meets the road, as they say. In that moment of I have someone in front of me wanting me to do something for them and me taking a step back and being like, no, I choose me. And in this moment, that means I'm not taking care of you. Because as we've talked, I mean, this is the path of the priestess. It's not just lived in the temple and in meditation. This is in those daily moments of choosing us. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Back to real life. Yes. So I love this. So, and we could talk for hours. We could easily, and we have done.
Yes.
So, but for each episode, what I want to share with you, our listeners, is a journal prompt or two. And I do this in my Sovereign Leader membership all the time. And so I'm going to trust my higher self and I'm going to trust in my inner teacher. So these are not pre-prepared questions. These are not pre-prepared prompts. They are from here for you right now. So the first one is, if you were to choose you today and every day going forward, who will you be in 6 months' time? Who will you be in 12 months' time? And I invite you to really connect in with your heart space, your body, your feet, feeling Mother Earth, connecting with Mother Earth. And breathe into your own exploration of that. And if you want to come and share it with us here in the comments below, please do. We'd love to continue this conversation with you. But that is your journal prompt for today, for this episode. And I hope that it unlocks something powerful for you. So thank you. And thank you, Joy. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Joy, for being here and bringing your amazing energy. And listening to the very first episode of the Sovereign Leader podcast. We've loved your company and walking this path with us today. So please do come find us on socials. We're both on Facebook and Instagram. And you can find Joy at radicaljoyfulness.com. That's her website. And myself at revitalize with an S, coaching.co.uk. And we look forward to seeing you next time.